Hey, Default, what's up, man? Happy Sunday. Default, when I saw your message, I popped up on the stream and I realized, oh wait, you can't hear me just yet. Let's go, man. I'm just taking a look at something real quick before the starts up in earnest. Give people a few more minutes to pop in. Hey, Bobby. Happy Sunday. Right. I'm looking through some of the documentation here, and I think my suspicions from last night's shenanigans were proving to be true. So, good thing, though, we learned a lot about Playwright, but now it looks like we need to maybe modify or switch up our MCP code. I think that's what we're going to work on tonight. Oh, thanks, man. Dude, I try to keep it chill. Have a good time. Come in, do a little bit of hacking, a little bit of chilling. You know, good times. What's up, everyone? Hope everybody had a fantastic Sunday today. Pretty good one. One of our good friends, they had a birthday party for their son. My kids love their son. Whatever, had a great party. Don't get to see them terribly frequently. So it was a really good day. Really happy about it. Nice, chill Sunday. So I was taking a look at something. So last night, we had this MCP server connected up, right? And one of the oddities that we noticed is that every time we made a connection, right, I still have the diagram from last night, right? Every time we made a connection, we got information back from the browser, but it always seemed to like break, right? It's like it wasn't continuing on with it. And sure enough, it looks like I think, I'm still checking on it, but the MCP adapters for LangChain don't seem to want to accurately work that way. Or they wouldn't work in a stateless config. Acoustic, what's up, man? Thank you for coming online and happy Sunday. So, we're going to double check and see if there's another way we can make this work in a stateful configuration. Let's see. If it will not work, there's got to be another way we can make this work. I have to believe there is a stateful example in here. So this is an example server that's stateless, though. Let me look at something. Because the actual library that we're using is from LangChain MCP adapters client. And we're importing the multi-serve MCP client. So let's see if we can either modify that to make it stateful, or there is actually another one that would be more appropriate to use, because we don't have multiple MCP servers. We have one. We have just one to run the browser. So we don't actually need multiples in here. Let's see. Client. What do we have in here? So there's our multi-serve client. And that, okay, so that's literally the only one we've got in here, which is not bad. We just got to figure out how to make it stateful. Really, there's no mention of state in here? Like, there's no option to keep alive or anything like that? Interesting. This one they're using load MCP tools. Is that what we're doing? No, not really. We're doing get tools. Well, actually, I'll tell you, all this is actually inside of the multi-serve client anyway. But let's see here. Why am I using Windows? Because it's really a pain to stream from Linux. That's the underlying reason. It's also really a pain to play games from Linux. However, I refuse to update this computer to Windows 11. There's a lot of stuff in it I don't like. So, push comes to shove, eventually this might just become a Linux computer. And then if I need to run Windows stuff, it's just going to be inside of a VM over on Proxmox. And I'll just RDP over to it. If that's what I got to do, that's what I got to do. But right now, it's running just fine. I run a lot of stuff also in containers, so I'm able to get a lot of work done in here. The actual server that we're deving on, though, this is a remote desktop session. Really, it's a VNC session, but this is over on a different server. So I don't dev on Windows. I play games, I handle some personal stuff. But yeah, if push comes to shove and the option is get rid of Windows 10 and have to go to Windows 11, I'm just going to tell Windows 11 bye-bye, because I'm going to probably switch over to Ubuntu or something. Simple, everyday driver Linux. I'm not rolling Arch. Hey guy, what's up? Could you use KVM and give the hardware to use it? I could. I mean, if I really wanted to be kind of pedantic about it, even this computer here that's got my graphics card in it, my 3060, even then I could plug that in and turn this into a Proxmox server, and then just use that to pass the graphics card into the Windows VM. Yeah. So hold on, there's a difference here. I'm noticing something. Let's get a list of all the tools for the connected server. There was actually a different one in here. Maybe this is where things have been going wrong. I'll tell you, I thought there was a flow issue in here, because there actually is a session option in here with the client. Connect to an MCP server and initialize a session. I'm going to see if we have any better documentation on this guy. Let's see, there's our quick start, server, client. So all the state things in here are for the state graph. I don't want the state graph in here. What I need is a stateful MCP connection. I need that connection to stay open, stay locked, stay stateful, and just be good. Let me see here. Here we go. So this example will start a new MCP client session for each tool invocation. If you'd like to explicitly start a session for a given user, you can do it this way. So I think this is the missing piece that we've got right here. So for the MCP implementation with LangChain, we need to actually start a session here. Got it. So we define the client, we set up an async with this, and our tools equals await load MCP tool in that session. Okay, so minor modification, and hopefully this will let these sessions persist. So let's go make this modification here. So rather than having our tools be defined in here, let's take this out. Let's... Oh, actually, I guess we're going to need that in there. I forgot because we're doing this all asynchronous. Let's see, we'll need to import load MCP tools. What just happened? Here we go, come on, load MCP tools. Yep, let's load that. And then what we'll do is, let's just comment this out for now. So instead, we're loading the tools up here. Client session, we'll call this browser. Because it's, I believe these two values are what need to match right here. Browser and browser. So we'll do the session, we'll do tools. Yeah. Okay, see, this is kind of what we were doing right here. We defined the multi-serve client. We had two basically servers in here. We had math and weather servers. And then we did get tools in here. Every time we made a tool call, right, to one of these tools, it instantiated a new session. But that's not what we want. We want a persistent session for this. So this should do that. So we call a client session to here, and then we call the tools, we call it like this. So now these tools are probably going to be slightly modified so they keep that persistent section. Awesome. Let's go try this. If that's the fix, I'm going to be so freaking happy. Let's see here. All right, so that's all the stuff from last night. Leave this off for now. Why that was set as a debug. I'm just gonna let it run. Let's run it and see what happens. Actually, I just realized we might not even have. Actually, no, it looks like, oh, actually, it looks like the MCP server is still on from last night. So nice. All right, let's see if we get a new one here. All right, this is either really good or really bad. It finished fast. Hey, thank you for the subscription, man. Appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. All right, let's see here. So it looks like we probably threw an error here. What about this one? Did browser install work? No, so something's funky in here. Let's take a look. Let me see what the output says here. Oh, actually, I don't even see what the output is because I know what's going to happen is it's going to say, hey, we got errors. It tried other stuff and it just failed on there. Let's see. So we run async. Client session browser is session. Tools is await load MCP tools into the sessions. Now we've got our tools. We attach those to the agent. Now, what's the issue that we're coming up against here? Let's look at this stack trace a little bit more carefully. So connection and resource error trace back. All right. We got here. Maybe I just need to go restart the MCP server. Let's see if we got the same error with this one. This came back from LangChain Tools base. Closed resource error. Let's go try something. Let's kill the MCP server. And then we'll go ahead and restart it for now. And then let's go try this again. That one failed epically. No problem. Let's run it. All right, so now it's thinking. Although I don't have much help because when I see this browser install tool running, it probably thinks there's an error with the browser. Are we getting a connection resource error? Now, one thing that's different is, notice how here we don't have any other sessions. We just have the one session happening. What did this do? That traced back. This one had a stack trace. This one also had a stack trace. So yeah, it's just floundering at this point. So let me try something. So here we see one session from the trace come up. For grins and giggles, let's swap this back. So uncomment this one. I'm going to comment these back out. And what should happen is, if this is working, we'll see like a bunch of new sessions spawn up every time it makes a call, because it's going to be stateless in here. Let's try this again. Run it. Once I start seeing this, because it's going to get stuck in a loop, because it's going to see things happen. See, here we see the navigate happen. So there's some kind of funkiness happening with the streamable HTTP here. What that is, I don't know. But let me go ahead and kill... What happened here, though? Hold on. Something between last night and tonight has happened. Error parsing SSE message. Oh, is that what we're seeing here? Got it. So it looks like what we're doing is we're not running this stateful for some reason. Hold on, let's look at something here. Yeah, see, every tool call was essentially generating a new session. All right, so let's look at something. Where's our playwright MCP? All right, let's go back over here. Do we have any messages for SSE? Ports listed on for SSE or MCP transport. Okay. Well, we did this already. That should be already up. We already specified a port for it to run on. Let's see. Because we already specified a port for this to run on. See that? So in our command here, we're specifying port, in this case, 8931. Why must you do this? Why must you make everything so difficult? Let me try something here. Yeah, port to listen on for SSE transport. So why is it all of a sudden saying that we're getting SSE errors when we weren't before? Let me close this. Because this was the version of the code that was running just fine. Let's see, there's our CDP relay. Back over here. Yeah, so when you're running a headed browser on a system without a display or a worker process for the IDEs, that's not what I want though. Let me try this one more time because this config was working last night. I mean, it was failing because we're running into this issue here. Where see all these various sessions are spawning. And in fact, we can actually see those over here. See all these sessions that are happening? I'm going to take all of these and the traces and go ahead and delete them. Delete all that, get rid of it. Our user path. Okay, so now we just have our output, our user directory. Let's try this one more time. Nice fresh install. This actually might be it right here. So for legacy SSE transport, you can use the SSE endpoint instead. Maybe that's a problem. Maybe instead of going to /MCP, we should be going to /SSE. All right, well, let me try this real quick. And what I'm expecting is, I'm expecting it to fail in its execution, but we should see a bunch of sessions spawn over here. See that? Session 1, Session 2, Session 3. So that means it's executing. It's just basically dying. So let me try this. Let's change this to SSE. And then swap this back over where we have a persistent session. There we go. And then let's try it. Well, let me look at the outputs. So we have all these sessions here and traces. Delete those. All right, let's try this one more time. Please work. Rip-a-roni. So it didn't like using the SSE endpoint. Let's see. Yeah, we got a 400 bad request using SSE. So that was not it. We'll go back to the MCP endpoint here. Just one more time. All right, let's check the trace now. Ah, bro. Really? We got an anthropic overload error. You suck. Dang it. So actually, we have this fixed in another situation. Hang on. I'm running out of desk space here. So essentially what's happening is the Anthropic API is saying, I can't handle it, bro. And we actually have this fixed in a different area here. At least I can find it real quick. We don't have to deal with this. One less thing to troubleshoot. Where was that? I believe that, I think it was over here in configuration. Or no, I think this was in a util. Yeah, hold on. Let me come over to the exploitation agent, because I know I imported it here. Yeah, here we go. So what we want to do is... Oh, we're going to use that, though. Gotta see about that. Ooh, how did I make that work? Because of the nature of the helper that we're using, I don't know if that's gonna work actually. It works for our agents because they're custom made, but we're not using a custom agent right now. What we're using is a built-in agent. These are utils. So there's LLM helper. Yeah, it's not going to like that. If we try to, I was trying to remember what the structure of this helper was that we made. If we try to plug that into the agent, it's going to throw an absolute fit. So, dang it. We just have to watch out closely for those errors when they pop up. All right, let me try running it again. See if we can get rid of the overload error. So that's why we never got a response back from this one here, because the overload. What's going on? So yeah, we're still getting that error here. I didn't like that. Yeah, so these ones were just made like a minute ago. So that's what was happening here. What are we fighting? Hey, Deep, what's up, man? Music's playing it twice in a weird offset? Oh, it may be. Yeah, did that fix it, Thief? Yeah, I think I know what's happening there. Let's see. Rodrigo, hey man, thanks for coming online. Welcome in. Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Okay. Yeah, the problem is, hang on, let me go fix something. So I've got tabs open with the stream and it's being monitored. However, sometimes those monitors come back. Oh, wait, no. Actually, that wasn't even it. I know what the issue was. The issue was I'm hearing the music in my headphones, and I had desktop audio turned on. So you were hearing it because it's here. Typically, when I turn on desktop audio, it turns off the background music. Yeah, that's what was causing it. Thank you for the heads up, though. Appreciate that. I need to change that in the setup macro. I've got one button on here that I fire it, and it basically brings up everything for the stream, but it doesn't disable the desktop audio. So that's a bug I need to go address, I guess. All right, let's see here. So where's this error actually coming from? So it's coming from... this stream memory. site packages LangChain core tools base. It's calling it. What's going on here? LangChain NCP. Let's see if we can find some. Oh, Davis, yeah, if you hear that, definitely let me know. Because what's happening is the desktop audio is everything. I forgot to fix the screen too. Everything that's coming back over here that I'm hearing, you will be able to hear too. So typically what I do is on the Stream Deck, I mute the background music and then I turn on the desktop audio. However, sometimes I forget to swap the two. All right, so this guy was getting the exact same issue here. But this says this should be fixed in the new 1.0 version, or 0.10. But I was like, hey, I'm probably way above 0.10 on here. Currently, tool stubs retrieved from MCP client get tools depend on a session that may have been created during Fast API's lifespan startup phase. So when the agent calls later in request handlers, the session is already closed, leading to an any IO closed resource error. Rip. So let's double check which version of the LangChain MCP adapter we're actually using. Let's double check that real quick. Let's try. Poetry, I think it's list. Hip list. Also, one thing I'll probably do is I'll probably will ditch poetry when we do the first major overhaul, and I'm going to probably switch over to UV. I initially just used poetry to have something, but as I've been dealing with some other systems, I actually really like UV better. So poetry will probably go bye-bye. UV will be slotted in when we do the first major rewrite. That lists all our commands. Where's our packages, though? Yeah, you know what? I can just see it over here. Where's our pie package? Oh, there we go. Oh, that's not what I need. I need the package lock. Where's the package lock? Find packages. Yeah, so we're using 1.019. So this should have been fixed in here. Now the question is, why is it still showing up though? This one here. Let's see. We've got a simple example to use with LangGraph dev, where the config is pi make dev. Agent invokes make graph function. Here's our playwright config. So when running playwright, the session gets cut off and each new tool call creates a new session. I read here that this common solution should be added to add a session. So there's his session playwright added here. Constantly get this error though, fix the closed resource. Let's see. Okay, so I mean this is a very similar solution to what we've got, except our agent is actually outside where this just gets the tools and then we get the agent in here. Not such a big deal. The following makeGraph function works when specified in LangGraph.json. So context lib adding the so all he did was add the async context manager. Interesting. Session handling of your code won't work properly with stateful MCP servers. For example, Playwright requires a state control tool called like navigate, browse snapshot, browse click to navigate pages. So these operations require a session, but the session ends when you exit the scope of async with the client session Playwright. Ah. Oh. Oh. Well, that's not good. That is suboptimal at best. Well, that's a pain in the butt. So basically what they're saying here, I like how he's annotated this. So here's our async, right? We start the session up. The tool was called Playwright. Session basically starts here. We get the tools, we create the agent, we return it, but the session closes when we exit this async loop. Oh, that is freaking atrocious. Why? So this guy's saying the TypeScript LangChain MCP adapters doesn't have session isolation. But this is not this is the Python version though. This means you need to manage the state independently from the graph execution. So if you need multiple users executing the shared MCP client, they may see each other's states. Bro. Hey, what's up, man? Does it return destroy the function's local state? Maybe that's the issue with it. So to be quite frank, Walrus, my understanding of Python's async programming is really weak. That was actually part of the reasons why this project got started. I've been in offensive security for 7 years, and I've been in IT for 15 years. I've written code in a bunch of different languages, but not to any great depth. And I've hacked on and modified code in dozens of languages over the years. But I never really got to go super deep on one language and learn how to develop something from scratch. So that was one of the main goals of this program. So we might just have to go really dig into some more Python async. Because actually, as some of the code I've looked at, Walrus, you just reminded me, I do see them yielding results whenever they return it back. So yield returns a generator and saves the function's local state in case more operations are required as part of the async. Oh. And you know what? It's funny you mentioned that because I'm right there. What are they saying? Hey, you should yield this. Hey, Bobby, what's up, dude? Oh, wait, you were already in here, yeah. Walrus coming in with the hot stuff. Thank you, man. Hey, Bobby, that's weird about your power just randomly cutting out. Did you make sure that you were properly hacking the planet? Because if you weren't, that could be why. I wonder if I'm still going to need this async context manager, though. Where's he getting this from? Let's see. I think he showed from context lib. I'm not familiar with that. Yeah, I've been working with a lot of stuff on PyTorch recently, and I've noticed that a lot of the code that's using that, they're doing it asynchronously, and they're using a bunch of yields. And as soon as you said that, it started to get into gears turning, but I wasn't sure exactly how those were interacting. Yeah, definitely a layer 8 issue with the power. Bro, I saw a video earlier today of somebody was hanging a TV. They were mounting a TV to the wall, right? No big deal. It's a wall that like adjoins 2 rooms, right? So you've got room here, there's a wall, there's a door, and they go to the other side and they have drilled this TV mount into their circuit breaker box, right? On the other side. I'm like, oh no. Oh no. I'm surprised the house didn't burn down, man. Yeah. Let's see. So what is context lib? I just wanted to get an idea about it real quick to see what they're doing. Context Manager provides Python's context lib module, allows you to suppress specific exceptions that might occur within a block of code. Okay, that's not exactly what I wanted. Oh wait, it's right up here. I just scrolled right past it. Module provides utilities for common tasks involving the with statement. For more information, see context manager types. All right, I'm not going to include that now if I can get away with it. But yeah, so it looks like this is how we need to modify the code right here. Okay. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Let's go do that. So the issue here is twofold. One, we've got this async loop where this is where the session starts, and then the session, once we exit this block, is where it ends, right? So what I'm going to do is tab this over, and then we need to yield this back. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll yield, basically instead of creating the agent, we're going to yield back the agent here. So this, that's all right, I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to leave this up here just as a reference. Let's take that out, but I am going to take this part right here. And then let's drop this. Let's uncomment some stuff. And this should be right there. What's up, man? The webcam unfocused? Dude! What is up with the tech issues tonight? Why? Why is this happening? Why is it doing that? I've been meaning to replace this webcam anyway. It does this every so often. Let's see if that works. Hold on. That. Let me try this. Did it work? Ah, there we go. That fixed it. I don't know if you're already familiar with the concept of generators in Python, but a short grok of that concept would help. I know very vaguely familiar with the idea of generators, actually from Java, because I had to do some of that in college, but not in Python's context. No, not. So I think what I would do here is, let's actually take this out here. I'm going to just make a new function here. So what we're going to do is define, we'll call this browser gen. I'm not going to take any arguments. We're going to drop in this async loop here. And then what we'll do is, for our agent, what we'll do is we'll say agent is now going to equal await from browser gen. Wait, this isn't defined browser gen. Is this how this is going to work? Let me see. This is bug. There we go. A little bit cleaner there. Let's go take a look at Python generators actually real fast here. Python generator. Let's see. Ooh, that's tiny. Let's zoom in here. Generator functions allow you to declare a function that behaves like an iterator, i.e. it can be used in a loop. So the simplification of code is a result of a generator function and generator expression support for Python. So to illustrate this, we'll compare different implementations of the function first in that represents the first n non-negative integers. N's a really big number. Okay. So let's see what they do here. So first n, we do our numbers. While the number's less than our number here, we append a number, we add +1, returns those numbers. Oh wait, hold on, no, first n, I take it back. Oh, the first n non-negative integers. Oh, is this just taking the sum of them? Got it. So using the generator pattern, what we do is we define class first in here. Let's see. Iterate, iter, next, and next in here. Oh, internal next. The current, we have the sum. We take these, we do this plus 1. Raise is stop iteration. Huh. Interesting. I haven't seen this pattern before. So generator yields the items instead of returning a list. Interesting. Okay. I have to dig into those a little bit more here. But mostly I want to see if this is actually going to function. So let's see. So now the browser generation has been moved over to its own agent right here. It'll return that React agent, which this is actually going to go bye-bye later on. It's fine. We can just sub in our own make graph statement in here for when we want to go define our own browser activities or our own browser execution loop. But as this comes through here, we generate this, our agent comes in. What is this error doing here? This is changing it up quite a bit. Oh, this is a good idea. I like how he's doing this with these iterators in here. Basically saying, what happens if you have 2 MCP servers? What could you do? This is a kind of way to iterate over it and do it. I wonder if we're going to need this context manager, though. I'm just not familiar with it. I don't want to just throw it in just in case. None of these guys are typing their outputs in here, so let me look at something real quick. So React agent, this is going to return. This should return a runnable, right? No, it's going to return a compiled graph. So let me do this real quick. Let's do compiled graph from the LangChain graph. And then that will fix it. There we go. Because it doesn't understand what this is returning. Now it does. Because it's like, hey, this async operation doesn't have this, but actually it does because we're going to yield back a compiled graph. That does have the async invoke option in here. Got it. Hey, Gojira, what's up, man? Your beard's getting so big you could hide me in there. It is, dude. I actually need to trim it up a little bit because it's getting a little bit cavemanish right now. The context manager decorator helps to isolate the instances. So in the event you're calling that decorated function multiple times, you need different states for each function call. Aha. Would we actually need that? I don't think so. At least right now, we don't need that. Eventually, whenever HackBot is going to evolve to be able to handle multiple situations, and even then, I don't think so, because the situations should be fairly linear. It's not going to be doing a lot of multitasking. It's going to be doing basically going through the task queue and executing them sequentially as it iterates over the different tasks that it has. I could think of situations where having multiple browsers maybe happening. I know we don't need it right now. I'm trying to think if we might need it in the future. But you know what? That's a problem for future Blaise.
No, you're good, Walrus. I appreciate the insight, man. I really do. I really, really do. All right, let's try this now. Let's see what's going to happen with it. Let's see if we're going to fall flat on its face again. So what it's supposed to do is not that. What it is supposed to do is basically connect to the Playwright MCP browser, go to the Blaise Bits GitHub, look for a repository related to Cobalt Strike, and then navigate to that repo and describe it real quick. So I wanted to have it actually go through and execute several options, right? So we did get that error that actually I was not expecting in here. Let me check something here. Can I await this? Class compiled graph does not define an await function. Make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So what they're doing is, yeah, so they're yielding back the React agent, but they're also not specifying how they're actually calling it. Let me see if he mentions it up here. Nope, he just returns the agent. So that you're using yield instead of return, the thing coming back from the function call has changed. So it's not going to be returning a compiled graph in here. Because typically, whenever we instantiated the create React agent, like here, right? This create React agent returns a compiled graph object. Oh, I just want this to work. Look at something. Async yield. So starting with Python 3.6, we have asynchronous generators. You're able to yield directly inside the coroutines, like this. So here's our main, here's our generator. So in main, async for I and async generator. Oh, I see what he's doing here. Oh. Oh. And then from here, in the main function, they're just trying to call a main loop. I see. So we have to change how this is actually happening down in the browser test function down here. Gotcha. So this is not the correct way to do this. What we're going to do is we're going to async this sucker. Got it. And so this will not be async generator. What this will be is our browser gen. And so what we'll do then is we'll say agent should equal I, right? Because it's only going to yield one result, and it's going to yield that one graph. So I believe this should work. We'll set the agent equal to I. This should come up into this block. And then I believe this part will come up here as well.
Thanks, Walrus. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for actually providing that minor nugget of help, because that was hugely, immensely helpful. I think this will work now, because now what we've done is basically this is going to be returning not a compiled graph. Let me take that out. This is different. So browser gen is set up to return the agent. And in fact, I'm going to refactor this. I think that's F6. No, that's not it. Refactor. Rename it. Oh, Shift F6. That's what it is. So this is going to be, I'm going to call this agent gen here. Since now I've got a little better idea of what it's doing, we're going to generate the agent, and then for this iterator, it's going to get the first option back. We're going to iterate over that, set our initial query. I'm going to take this line out so it doesn't confuse me. All right, I think this will work now. Oh, please work. Well, the good news is it hasn't fallen flat on its face in the first 30 seconds. So let's see if we have a new one running. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Browser navigate. It navigated. Things are looking up. And then after the navigate, what's it going to do next? What you going to call? Going to call click. Now the problem here is I think it's going to try to call a click without having taken the snapshot. Still running though. Things is looking up. Browser click is probably going to fail, saying I don't have a snapshot. We didn't need the snapshot. It actually worked. Wait. What happened? Why you do this? This is not the way. Oh wait, it looks like it actually did load. Okay. I saw errors at the beginning. So then what's it clicking on now? Click readme.md. Look at all that. Look at all that. Navigate back. Why are you going back? Don't back it up. Don't back it up. Is this still running? Why are you still running? You got everything you needed. Okay, I can't wait to read through the reasoning from this. But holy cow, it's working. It's doing stuff. This is amazing. Is the browser rabbit hole finally reached an end? I can't wait. I can't wait. Why is it clicking again, though? Okay, stop. It's doing stuff. And the good thing is we can see it going through and actually doing this. And also, we come back here, only one session was created, which is awesome. This is amazing. This is lovely. It's beautiful. I could stare at it for hours. All right, let me see what it's doing here. So from our call here, so I'm going to browse over to GitHub BlaiseBits. We get the navigate works. We send in the navigate information. I can see a GitHub profile for BlaiseBits. I can also see there's a repository called Cobalt Strike Tools in the popular repository section. So let me navigate to that repo and check the README page. So it clicks this link. It references it by an E153. We click that, but then what's it say next? Next, I think it actually says, hey, let me go click on the README. Yep, I click on the README, but then for some reason next, it wants to navigate back. Why? I noticed the README file is extremely minimal, containing only the Cobalt Strike tools, but no additional information. Let me go back and look at some of the other files to get a better understanding of what the repository contains. That's awesome. And it's absolutely right. Look, if we go over to the BlaiseBits GitHub, Cobalt Strike Tools doesn't have anything in the README. I didn't think about this when I gave it the instruction, but look. So what's it going to start doing? It starts going back, and it's I probably killed it while it was iterating through the various files. Dude.
Hang on one sec. I gotta do something real fast. Stand by. There we go. I know Walrus had to leave, but I had to gift him a sub because that was a huge help. Yes! It made no sense, Bobby. I was trying to figure out, like, what is going on here, right? And as I started thinking about it, it made more and more sense that here in the MCP operation, right, that this was what was kind of doing it. And I was partially correct. It was this, but it was also the way we were handling the sessions and the generators. Because now, what we can do that this is working is I can go look something else. I'm going to show for just a sec because the ads are running, and then we'll talk about it. But this is sick. Hold on, I gotta go look at the trace a little bit more. I gotta look at the trace. What was it doing? So it navigates back, and then what does it look for? Let me check the RTO helper.cna file. It seems to be a Cobalt Strike aggressor script to understand what the repository provides. Oh. I love this. This is making my happy parts tingle. I'm so happy. You guys, I've been blue-balled over this browser for damn near 4 weeks. I'm so excited. You know what this means? A tiny bit more work. We finish the agent. We can go back to the hacking part. We can get out of tooling hell. I can't wait. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Oh, man. Well, the ads are just about to wrap up in like 5 seconds. Then we'll cover this a little bit more. Oh, I can't wait. Hold on, I gotta check something real fast. This is... I had to make sure one of my monitors was actually still running. Okay, so guys, what was happening? I was looking through the trace while the ads were running, so just in case anyone missed it, is it actually went to the README file. However, the README file, I told it to... What was the actual instruction? Let me go check it real quick. So the actual first instruction given, go to the BlaiseBits GitHub, go to the Cobalt Strike tools, or basically look for anything related to Cobalt Strike tools, and, oh, here it is. Navigate to the repository, describe the README page. Okay, that sounds legit, but the agent actually thought it was supposed to describe more about the repository. The README page is nothing. I forgot I didn't really put anything in here to explain it. This was just supposed to be like a personal project thing in here to help with the Red Team Ops course from 0 Point Security. So it goes through, it finally clicks on it, it checks it, it's like, hey, there's nothing really here. Clicks back, right? Check this out. Wait. Oh, it tries to click back. Browser snapshot. Takes a snapshot. Oh, actually, it looks like it tried to, but then we probably broke it. So this will be something we'll need to, because look at this. It clicked, it all worked. It tried to navigate back, but it looked like we had an error. Oh no, we didn't have an error. We had a click here. And then for some reason it said no page snapshot found. No, what it was trying to do though was look through the different files in here to see what they were. Let me check this one real quick. Go down. So it wants to click on the RTO helper here. So it does a click. What app? This app right here, guy? This is the LangSmith. This is called LangSmith, and it's from the guys who made LangChain, and it's an analytics platform. So as LangChain is running through, if you provide it with your LangSmith API and a project name, then what it will do is it will do logging telemetry over to this site. Makes it really helpful for troubleshooting what's actually happening in the execution flow when you're talking to the language model. It's super helpful. We haven't really got to dig into it too much while you've been watching because we've been stuck over and just trying to get the browser to work. But this is a really great tool. There's other tools like this that you can use, like ML Flow is another one. One of my coworkers is really into this one. It does kind of the same thing. I haven't messed with it yet. If we decide to pivot off of LangChain, it's like a, I don't know, maybe a 50-50 shot. I haven't decided. Then maybe we'll start using MLflow instead. But this is the, Langsmith is the native one for LangChain in here. That's what this is doing. It's really cool. And so you just go to smith.langchain.com, and that's where you log in for it. And I'm using the completely free tier. I'm not using anything paid from them. This is just what they provide gratis. All right, so it fails. It takes a snapshot. Oh, this is where I killed it. I was curious to see what else it was going to do with that RTO helper CNA file to explain it. But anyway, this was the test to know that, okay, it's actually doing stuff in here. All right, there's actually one other thing I want to go take a look at now. Let me pull Claude back up. So Claude actually came up with a couple of artifacts for us. So this is our LangGraph browser use agent with PatchWrite MCP integration. This is not going to be functional code. This was something I just asked it to create. I'm not worried about that. We might look at this here. But one thing we have to do is, oh, I'm so excited about this. We clear this up. So this is going to be running as a specialty agent, meaning it can have one of two options for state management. So for the state, it can either use our Stinger state and just take that directly, or option B is that it has a custom state. However, there's a sub requirement to this. If you have a custom state, you have to have basically matching keys to the Stinger state, so you have something to reply back to, essentially. Because when this agent gets called, it's got to have something that it can emit back, which is some kind of a state table, and then it has to have some kind of overlapping key that then is going to get written to the Stinger state to persist the information coming out of this guy right here. I think. Let me think about this. How would I want to do this? Dude, it feels like it's been so long since I got to work on Stinger. I'm not even sure which way to take for this. I'm leaning towards just let it use the Stinger state. It's not horrendous. We can then parse out the pieces of information that we need from Stinger and then send that over there. If we wanted to be a little bit more efficient, we could use a custom state over here. Now, the one Claude recommended is we have something like messages, current URL, browser content, screenshot, tasks, things like that. Oh, no, don't explain it. I did not mean to click on that. Dang it. I didn't mean to do that. Just look on this side. Okay. Man, this thing returned a chunk. Like, so here's our MCP client, which this thing way over engineered this, actually. Yeah, it way did. Really what I wanted to do is, let me see what it's doing for the nodes in here. So we have, because really this is the part that we need. This right here, this build graph function. Let me go grab this real fast. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw this over into here. So let me see. Let me make a new Python file. I'm just going to call this temp.py. And later. All right, I want this stuff in here. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and just do some imports real quick. Browser state. I don't think I want to do that one. Dude, I really got to go look at the Stinger state real quick before I get too far into this. I got to remember what was the structure of Stinger. Man, I was losing it. It's been so long since I got to work on it. Let me think about this. I feel like a dog that has spent his entire life chasing fire trucks, and I finally caught one. Now I don't know what to do with it. Oh yeah, just in time. Not sponsored by Jocko yet. I gotta clean my desk off. I'm running out of space over here. Hey, Nick, what's up, dude? Happy Sunday. I almost said Saturday. Happy Sunday. Or at least, and I hope you've been having a happy Sunday. I should put that in as a command. I never thought about that. So this is an AI hacking bot that is designed to play capture the flag games. And it is, you actually have perfect timing because we're getting ready to get back to actually some of the hacking coding. We spent the last 4 weeks trying to wire up a web browser that HackBot can use. HackBot is getting ready to do a web exploitation. It's going to drop a PHP web shell onto a vulnerable system and then execute it. And then that will, depending on how it works, might be the end of the exploitation agent. And then we'll move on to the next agent, which is post-exploitation. But anyway, its whole job is to go through like doing reconnaissance, enumeration, exploitation, and then post-exploitation activity. The entire goal is to get it to solve this challenge over on TryHackMe, which is called RootMe. It is the absolute very easiest of the challenges. And so far, it's actually working out pretty decently now that we're out of browser hell. But here, let me give you an idea. So here's the recon agent. And what it's doing is, let me pull this down here. Let me reformat these nodes just a wee bit. Okay, so what it's doing is it comes through and does something similar to like a React agent, reasoning an action. It comes through, it takes in a task from Stinger, who is the supervisor, and it goes, okay, cool, what can I do for this? Okay, well, I have some tools. I'm going to call some tools from that. Or actually, first thing it will do is when it gets a task, it's going to send it down to Validator and say, hey, can I answer this with our already observed information in the environment? Before I do that, it says yes or no. If it's no, it actually starts doing some active techniques to try and find an answer. And then once it's done, passes it back up to Stinger. So that's the basic flow of how all the agents work. Stinger here is the supervisor who's not rendering for some reason. There it goes. So Stinger here will take basically user input. It'll initialize all the data that it needs for the graph. Stinger right now is just handling parsing out the tasks. The initializer actually does the initial assessment of, hey, this task should go to recon, enum, so on and so forth, and then passes them down to the specialty agents. Handoff is a different one. Don't worry about that. Eventually, there'll be a fourth agent over here called post-exploitation. So recon and enumeration's job is to provide enough detail to exploit to get code execution on the system. A single code exploit that can just run like one command at a time. Nothing fantabulous. Once this is done, exploit is actually going to handle over to post-exploit. Post-exploit is going to be the agent responsible for escalating that to a C2 agent and then handling what to do from there. So post-exploitation is actually going to have a bunch of specialty agents down here. I can't wait. The browser is finally operable. Now we just have to finish the browser agent and get it to work. I could leave it as it is right now with what it's doing the React agent. However, I don't think that's what I want to do. I want to actually try to mimic a little bit more of what browser use was doing. Browser use was doing a pretty good idea on it. Yeah, I really do want to try that over here. Actually, I'm going to rename this file real fast. I'm so excited, guys. I can't even explain how excited I am about this. been fighting this thing for so long. Thank you, Walrus. You definitely earned that gift sub. Green onions. I'm going to call this browser use agent right here. Boop. There we go. So we've got a browser agent, which is currently working. We're going to try and modify this to the browser use agent. Yes, almost time to collect some wicked XP and gold for the Playwright side quest. Now, granted, guys, I actually don't know much about Playwright. I've never used it before, and we had to do a fair amount of async coding in here. So thankfully, Walrus came in, talk about, you know, small divine interventions. That was a really good one, and set me on the right path to figure out where I was going wrong in this async code. So excited! This almost seems like a generic strategic computer use agent with a bit more hacking-specific functionality. It kind of is, Nick. And basically, the functionality comes to how it's using the state table and how it is handling which information it's sending to and from the language model. So eventually, in this whole mix, we'll give it very minimal input. Right now, user input gets a list of tasks that it has to do. You're supposed to find these key pieces of information and then do this exploit and then do something else. It's given like basically a roadmap to it. Eventually, user input will just be, here's some basic information about the target and here's the IP address, go to it. And then initializer will probably go away. Stinger will come in here and say, or as initializer will probably be rolled over to Stinger. A Stinger will actually go through and analyze the information as it's coming back and decide the next course of action. Then when it does that, it will decide, okay, which agent is going to get that information and then send it to it as it does so. Yeah, so it is a little bit more of that. A lot of this, though, is I'm trying to constrain the information sent to the language model to where it can get the most focused and accurate information possible instead of just sending the entire message history to it, right? I don't want to balloon the context to like 200,000 tokens and start developing blind spots in there, because that does happen. A lot of times these language models, they'll start like weighting the beginning and end of the context real heavily, or like these random little blind spots will appear in the middle there. And that's what we're trying to avoid by keeping the context of everything real tight. Keep it to where this is the information you need to proceed with. That concern is relevant to generic multi-step strategic operations. Yeah. And see, what's funny is this actually has been paying off quite a bit. I started this whole project because two reasons. I suck at Python. I wanted to learn how to code a project from scratch better. So I chose Python. And two, I see this a lot coming up from my clients. I'm a professional penetration tester, doing that for 7 years. And I knew this was coming up. And believe it or not, the project I was just working on 3 weeks ago was exactly stuff like this. And we had a field day with it because I kind of understood what they were doing, the steps they were taking, and where they were going with it. Strategic, tactical, whichever. Dude, I'm so excited though. The browser's working. All right, now what I want to do is, I'm going to leave the browser agent as is, but we're going to start porting stuff over. Let me take this out. We don't need that. We don't need this stuff. Let me clean this up just a teeny weeny bit. I actually will have this Docker portion in here because what we'll do is we're going to take the Docker commands and we're going to port them over into this here. I got to think about how I want to do this eventually, because eventually these guys should be able to pull a Docker container, and this will be containers. Yeah, it'll be able to pull a Docker container itself. And so in this case, we're pulling the MCP browser. Well, this is wrong in here. The one we're using is the actual Playwright MCP server. Oh, I can't wait. Hack that planet. What's up, man? Did you see the NVIDIA Container Toolkit CVE pop? Dude, yes, we covered that on the news stream. I don't think it was, maybe it was this week, maybe it was last week, I forget. But dude, that was stupid simple also. And what's cool is I didn't know they had lifecycle hooks in there like that. And so to prepend the lifecycle hook with that, I think it was LD preload. I was like, that was so dumb. It was beautiful. That was a really, really easy exploit also for how critical it was. That was redonkulous. Also, man, how you been? Hadn't seen you in a little while. Hope you've been doing good. Hope you've been doing real good. Let me check something here. Let me pop back over to Claude. I gotta remember something, guys. It's been so long. Where's my exploitation agent? Did I not have it up? I don't have it up? What? No, there's my exploit agent. Let me drag you all the way down here to the end. There we go. Like, no, that didn't do it. Come right here. You're gonna be my reference here. I gotta remember exactly where we were going with this, because it's been so long, I've forgotten exactly where we were storing all the information in here. I think we probably will use... Over here in Stinger, we had a list for persistent tools. I think this might go away. And what we'll do instead is we will put a field in here. Yeah. Ooh, do I want to do that? Dang, you know what I think I need to do is actually go through and I probably need to go boot up the lab and actually rerun this just so I can refresh myself. Hang on. Let me see if I'm still logged into Try Hack Me, because they always want to log me out. Of course I'm logged. Log in. I'm not the robot. Let me start this machine up real quick. There we go. Start machine. There we go. All right, so what we're going to do is we'll let this boot up for just a second. We'll hop on the VPN, and then I'm going to let it run through and generate a new pickle. So a dirty little hack we implemented in here is, if we look at Stinger, right, this is a lot of information to go through. So this is the collapsed form of it. Here's the recon stuff. Here's the enumeration stuff. So look, it's got to run through this entire workflow, and then this entire workflow, and then finally it's going to get to the exploitation workflow. So all this. So what we did over here in the exploit graph is we put a dirty little hack in for the time being. Really? You're just not going to load the exploit graph? There it goes. Where we have this load pickle node in here. And so what this does is it runs through everything in the graph. When it hits this node, it checks to see if we have saved the pickle or not. And if it has, then it just loads it. What this allows us to do is basically shortcut the state table and re-inject it into the agent, so we can run just this one agent here and not have to go through the entire lifecycle every time we want to test one change. So I'm booting up the lab right now. So that way, what we can do is we can run this again, go get an updated pickle, and then we can test the browser agent real fast. It will go through and do everything in there. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so happy. All right, cool. There's our IP address. So what we'll want to do is, let me go make sure. I don't think I'm even connected to the VPN because this box got rebooted. Yeah, it sure did. There it is. Let's connect to the VPN real quick. All right, we should be connected. And then let's come back over here. Actually, I need to go find Stinger real quick. Let me change this real fast. Oop. All right, let me copy this. This is our initial state table in here. And then what we can do is we can actually launch this over from here. Oop. I'm going to collapse these down real quick. Collapse, collapse, and collapse. There we go. So what we do is we just drop this in here. And what's going to happen is, like I said, we've given it breadcrumbs on what it needs to do. Scan the target to figure out how many ports are open, determine the version of Apache, see what's running on 22, use GoBuster to find hidden directories and identify the hidden directories. Look for those, check out those hidden directories, and then see which URLs have upload forms, and then get remote code execution from a web shell. So really looking at these hidden directories to figure out which ones have upload forms, probably what I would expect it to do is maybe curl it at first, but a lot of modern web apps are using client-side rendering. Curl wouldn't work for that. This is where the browser agent comes in real handy. So the browser agent is actually going to sit like a tool in there that we can call. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome. All right, let's run this. All right, so we're hitting the recon agent, doing stuff. We're gonna hit that recon tool node. Awesome. So I'll be right back while this is running. Wait a second, I was actually gonna leave that up. Hang on. I'm gonna leave this up for just a second while it's. All right, I'm back. All right, this should have done more by now. Where's our terminal? What's this guy doing in here? Okay, hold on. Let me cancel this real quick. Try something. Because for some reason, this should have already been going through. Let me submit this again. All right, initializer's working. It's creating the task list. Hitting the recon agent. All right, so we see the in-map scan working. 1010, 246, 247. Let me make sure that's the correct address. Yep. Make sure that in-map is still running. Maybe I should restart Dreadnode. Ah, dang it. What is it? Is our ton 0 coming up? I don't think so. Oh, I think our VPN is crapping out on us. I think that's what's happening. Cancel this run. I probably need to go get a new copy of the VPN config. That's from profile access. Yeah, there we go. Why are we connected to an EU one? No way. US West. There we go. We generate a new VPN config here and then download this because it looked like the VPN was crapping out on us. Let's do that again. There we go. Now we get it. All right, hang on one sec. Let me drop into OPSEC mode and go upload that. Dude, what is up with the camera again? Oh, thank you. Thank you, camera. Tech issues days, man. All right, stand by, y'all. I'm going to... Let me upload this real quick to this system. All right, there we go. Now it looks like we're good. There we go. Let's double check our IP address here. Now we've got a ton zero showing. All right, good. I don't believe that was showing up last time. Yeah. See, we didn't have it showing up before. User error. That's what's happening. Now, let's go run it. Really? You're gonna make me go recopy that? Let me get the initial state table up in here. Make me a new thread. Submit. Because they should have actually executed that nmap scan real fast. Shouldn't take very long. There you go. See how we've got a couple of these that we want to get rid of? Get rid of those. We do this one too. All right, there we go. But hopefully that continued. Yep, there we go, because now we're over into the recon agent. Or sorry, now we've moved on to the enumeration agent. Now we're talking. All right, let's go check the trace on this one. Should be good here once this is up and running. Be good. We hit any tool calls? Nope, we hit a lot of validators though. So now it should be running GoBuster. Let's check it. Yep, there's GoBuster, turning away. Should only take it about 40 seconds to finish the GoBuster task in here. So then we'll let this go. Once it finishes the enumeration portion, it's going to kick over to exploit. We'll let it do its thing for a little bit. And then we should have an updated pickle. But see, the kicker here is what happens when it hits the exploitation agent right now is it correctly identifies the file upload vulnerability, partially because we told it. But it always gave instructions like, hey, we need a browser to do this. That was what was killing us about this. So that's what happened to this 4-week-long side quest to get a browser up and running for it. Was trying to get this up and going. And we tried a couple different solutions, like 4 different solutions. Finally found one that worked. And now that it's actually working, what's happening is it will actually be able to go spin up a browser, connect to the target, and do those things. So there's a couple other pieces of information we'll need to supply it in there. Like we'll have to give it the ability to go get files to do things with, and know where those are stored. Ooh, I'm trying to think about how I'm going to do that. We'll probably have to extend Stinger a wee bit over here and add something like an artifact list to it. Or actually, we could put that in persistent tools. Persistent tools would be like web shells in here. You do that. Nice. Yeah, that will work. All right, so pretty soon we should be moving off of enumeration over to the exploit agent. I know you're missing some of this but you're not missing much of anything. It's just listing like, hey, what it's doing. There we go. So now we're hitting the exploitation agent. And so here's where it hit the load pickle. I should add a note in there like, hey, we're actually loading up the pickle. Let me look at something. You see the couple here real quick. Actually, let's just do this. Go to HackBot. Where is the pickle? Oh, it might be over in agents. Yeah, I think it's over in agents. Yeah, there's our data pickle. This should have been updated today. Oh, this says it wasn't updated for June 8th. No way, have we been working on this since June 8th? Hold on. So this was the 8th, that means that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This has been, oh my god. It's been 7 weeks since I got to run this. This wasn't 4 weeks, this was 7 weeks to figure out this dang browser issue. RIP. No bueno. And if it didn't save the pickle, I'm gonna be rude. So right now it's in our exploit step processor. So I need to upload a PHP web shell file to the upload form. However, I need some additional information to proceed effectively. I don't know the target URL where the file upload form is located. For real? What do you mean you don't know where it's located? What was the error we hit? I bet it hit a recursion error somewhere in here. For some reason, we hit index out of range. Why was this? How odd. Let me try something, though. Let me come over to the exploit agent. So the good thing about having this pickle in here is we should see it. What I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to break on exit from this one. So interrupt after. I'm going to run this because what it should do is we can load the pickle up and then we can see what's the state table happening in here. Okay, cool. So it did update the pickle because this is the correct IP address right here in the host table. Awesome. So we'll have to go through and figure out why it was having that state issue here. It's right here. So what's going to happen is exploit is actually going to go through and I think suggest a couple of exploits. So let me break on this one here, or interrupt before, and then we'll let this continue. All right, so now we hit the exploit step planner here. So what we're looking at is this one. Actually, I've triggered that. I should have actually interrupted it here. Let me do this. Interrupt before this one. I'm going to turn this one off and let it continue. Because the planner is actually the one that's going to plan out, hey, these are the steps of what we need to do. And then the processor says, okay, let's go through and try the exploit. So it does something I kind of call like speculative tasking, where it says, hey, this is the plan. Let's see if the plan actually works. So let's go down to task 5 in here. Hold on. Let me look at the trace of it real fast. Here we go, yes. So here's our exploit steps. So our steps are, we can create a PHP web shell if one's not already available. Web shell should contain code like this. Boom. Navigate to the target's upload form at panel. Upload the PHP web shell to check for it. Check if the upload was successful by looking in the uploads directory. Navigate there. So this is again where the browser would come in handy. If the file upload was rejected due to extension filtering, try bypassing the filtering by doing different extensions. .php, PHP 3, 4, 5, yada yada. Let's see. And I love this. It even says, hey, the extension filtering is in place. We can try maybe adding a GIF header to it. Awesome. We can do this now. All right, cool. I do like that it's like, hey, here's how we could do this. And in fact, this would work even. This would work perfectly fine if we had something like this, because it would be post-exploitation's job to take this web shell and convert it to something else. Now, we actually already made a tool in here. If we look at... I think this one might show it. No, it doesn't. Oh, so this is just the one for it. All right, you know what? Continue. No, stop. Let me click the button. You see here. All right, so here we go. So here's all the tools that we've got. One of these is, I think it's generate PHP web shell. Get PHP web shell diceco. This one. So it has no parameters. All it does is return a PHP web shell with initial access payload. So when we call this, I think it just returns. Yeah, so this just returns the raw information for it. So what we might do is adjust this to where it's not going to be the raw PHP code, but maybe a path to a file for it. Because eventually what will happen is browser use will need to have access to this file and then be able to go upload it. So I think one of the things we'll need to do is actually create like a coherent file sharing system inside this. where it's going to have those files. I like this so much. All right, I need to look at the state table though. So let's look at that. There's our task. Please. Actually, I want the task open because I wonder why some of the tasks are not showing up in here the way I expected them. Ah, here we go. That's right, because we put it over in the output. That's what we do. I had to remember where all the stuff is going in here. So here's our steps. So, like, for example, step 0 was create a web shell. Step 1, navigate to the target's upload form. So this is where it would come in with, like, browser use in here. Like, hey, this is what we want to do is we want to send a certain subset of these commands maybe over to the browser. Hey, Carson, what's up, dude? Happy Sunday. It is a very happy Sunday now that the browser's working. Jeez. Such a beatdown. I didn't realize I've been working on this since the 8th. Oh. I did take, I think, 1 weekend off. I think we kind of messed around, did a little bit of Hack the Box, and had some fun with it. But still, that's a long time to get that dang browser working. And granted, I also only work on this on stream. So really, it only gets about 6 hours of dead time during the week. All right, let's do this. Cyberpunk Viking, the Cyberpunk Viking. Thank you for coming online. Welcome in. Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. By the way, guys, the follower goal was hit. We reached the 1,337 follower goal, which I think I picked because it's like, okay, cool. Now we can officially say we have elite followers. So I do need to plan out a fun stream on what to do. If you have suggestions, go toss them up on Discord, because I know you're going to come up with something to punish me. That's just what y'all do. 0 days. What's up, dude? And Maddie Cyber, thank you for coming online. Welcome in, everybody. I hope you're all having a just absolutely fantastic Sunday. I am now. Oh, so now what I got to think about is, here's the exploitation agent, right? It's doing its stuff. Everything's going well. I got to figure out how do I want to allow it to call these agents, these specialty agents. So they're going to get thrown into the mix in here. I think also one thing we're probably going to have to do eventually is do tool filtering, but for right now, it's fine. We're just sending all the tools we have available. Oh. All right, before I get too far ahead of myself, I think I don't want to do this for this browser. I think one thing I want to do, so I actually did for this particular one, because I made it to where it's going to duplicate some information. And Parrot 404, thank you for coming online. What's up? What's the challenge name? Dude, it is no great challenge. It is the simplest of simple over on TryHackMe called RootMe. The oldest and simplest one. But once this AI agent is able to complete this one, and the 4 primary agents are working. So we're working on the exploitation agent now. It, in theory, might almost be done. Once we finish integrating the browser, which is now functional and stateful, once we have that up and running, what we should be able to do is take this and move, complete the exploitation agent and move on to post-exploitation. So what we've got here in the state is, if we look at our state tables, which these are just basically units of truth inside of everything that's happening back and forth. So for our hosts, what we have is we have a defined initial access exploit in here. Geez, man, thank you for coming online. Welcome in. Hope you have a great Sunday. I'm doing fantastic, man. We're making good progress. We're at a stalling spot. Basically trying to get a web browser for the AI agent to use. And tried a bunch of different solutions. Ended up kind of architecting our own with a little bit of help from Playwright's MCP Docker container. And now we actually have a browser that it can use. It is stateful, works on the internet, but really we need it to work inside the we need it working in a local Docker container so it could traverse the VPN over to it. It's gonna tick your jibs. No, it's not. This is so amazingly dumb. But it is fun. And I work as a penetration tester during my day job. And actually going through and building this project out and looking at the analysis of like how these agents kind of work and flow and handle things was immensely helpful, because I was able to go through and use that on an assessment I had 2 weeks ago where I was testing a system just like this. So it's already paid off dividends, and I just have a lot of fun doing it. We get to think about the pen testing process, how everything kind of flows through here, and have a great time with it. I'm having a terrible Sunday because I was trying to do a live stream while working on my games, and I'm also running a backroom program. It ended early because it was literally 100% in my CPU. Oh, so whenever I went live, I couldn't even click the end stream button. Oh no, man. So you had all your background programs were harshing your CPU. I've got an i7 12th gen. Man, you must have really been cranking it, because that would really take a lot of horsepower to load one of those up. I want to do this. Oh, never what I was saying. Actually, I got sidetracked real fast by Cheese's message. But essentially, the exploitation agent, its job is to populate this value. So for a given host in our host table, if it has an initial access exploit, the exploitation agent has done its job, and then everything after that will get passed on to post exploit. Post exploit we have not started yet. It's going to integrate into Mythic C2, and its job is going to be a couple fold. One is to upgrade the connection, the exploit from an initial access payload to an actual C2 connection. So it'll have a C2 payload running on there. And then after that, start doing privilege escalation. So going from a low level access account to a high level access account. I had 3 separate editors open at the same time. Each one was compiling a different script from one app. And I had the game downloading in the background, music playing, and streaming all at the same time. Damn. Yeah, that'll do it. All those cores, putting in the work. Yeah, even this right here. So this system where I'm running the test code, I've got it on a virtual machine on a different server. It's not running locally. Let me see. You know, the browser use agent so far has been functional. I'm tempted for now or the browser agent, leave the browser use agent for later and maybe consider upgrading to it if I feel like the current iteration of the browser agent is not working. So I think what I want to do is let me look at something here. Let's go do a little bit of modification to this. We're going to modify. I'm going to go over to our browser Docker system, and I'm going to kill this in here. And then I'm going to take this Docker run command here, and we're going to make a copy of it and bring it over in here for now, just so we have a reference to it. Because then what we're going to do is we're actually going to go make this guy right here. So I'm going to take this out. Oh, I took out a couple of imports that I need. I think it's random choice. I think that's the one. And then let me import our string. There we go. That's going to give us our container name. And then this is actually going to spin up our container. We don't need the IT option. We probably will want the tech RM option. I'm trying to think of how I want to do this. I put a spot over in the sticker state for persistent tools right here. And so persistent tools would be something like, hey, we could start the browser MCP session and we could basically keep it running and have the container. Once the container comes up, we could write that to the state table here. The kicker is we have to create it and then we got to get it over into the state table. That's crazy you're working on hacking because I'm literally working on a Fortnite aimbot app where it's all in one. You just click start and it works. And it's got easy anti-cheat. It's got an anti-easy anti-cheat. So it's like you won't get banned because the software will stop you from getting banned because it's using a custom launcher. Nice. Dude, if anybody in the stream who ever wants to cover something like reverse engineering and exploit development, believe it or not, go look at what game hackers do. Those dudes get serious on stuff. And it's hilarious because like in more than one occasion, I've seen where some new malware is using some kind of technique and the guys in, like in game hacking forums come up and they say, yeah, we've known about that for 5 years. We've been doing that already. And it's wild, some of the stuff they come up with just to hack their video games. Sin, what's up, dude? The best supply chain breach in C2 is to get these offline game server. Activision and EA doubled budget for security. Came to know while I was speaking with their VP at Black Hat. Oh, nice. Dude, are you going to Black Hat this year, Sin? I unfortunately am not. But anybody who's going to Black Hat, do me a favor. If you run into the guys from Dreadnought, do me a favor. If you're going to be at Black Hat or at DEF CON, Dreadnought, here we go. These guys. If you run into these guys with the little skull right here, do me a favor. Just go up to him and say, hey, Blaise says hi. Just please do that for me. I'm trying to get as many people as I can to do that. I recently got acquainted with them. They're really cool. They liked the work I did for integrating robo pages with LangChain. I got a PR up for them right now. I just want to mess with them a little bit. So do me a favor. If you're going to be at Black Hat or at DEF CON and you see the guys from Dreadnought, just go up to them and say, hey, by the way, Blaise says hi. And that's it. You don't have to expand on it anymore. If you want to chat with them, go ahead. Just say that and then walk away. It would be hilarious to me. Anyway. I hacked Geometry Dash so much it's not even the same game anymore from when I bought it. Let's see. I got a question a little bit. Do you think you could take a look at software I made called Archive X? It's like an online digital time capsule. It runs in the browser and it's got some cool features. What's the main idea of what you're doing with it? We need legislation to hold multiplayer game cheat creators financially liable. I mean, technically, it's not going to be financially liable because what they're doing is against the terms of service. So the people have to hold them liable as the game manufacturers and producers, right? So they do stuff like that. They do ban waves. They kick people out of the servers and whatnot. And I don't know if there's anything you can do and say that there's criminal intent happening there. Because technically, usually what they're doing is they're not attacking the server, they're attacking their client and the data it's sending to the server. So they're allowed to modify this stuff on their own system. Hold on to that thought, Cheese. I need to go run and take care of something real fast, and I will get to that, but I will be right back. All right, back. Hey, Johnny Cat, have to hack the planet. No, I'm back. I'm back. I had to go take care of something real quick. All right, what did she say here? So as far as Archive X is concerned, the idea that I'm doing here is that like you're archiving your digital legacy, so you can upload photos and videos and messages to your future self, and you can lock it until a future date, and you can view other people's time capsules. And there's some new features I'm working on out of it, but I'm not sure if you might be able to do something like choose a custom theme for each time capsule you're working on so you can upload more than just audio and video. Oh, interesting. My name? Recursive? Blaise. It's Blaise. Let's see. I mean, this system, the one we're working on right now for deving this code up is just Debian. It's only Debian 12. There you go. Fell into Tech. But home system is running Windows because it's really difficult to stream from Linux. I use Arch. See, man, now after seeing, what's his name? Primogen start talking about how much he likes Arch. I really do want to start playing with it. It's just I have to pick my time for my projects. I don't have time to go set up Arch right now. All right, let's do something.
Caution.
Hey!
A virus has been
Hack Smarter!
detected.
Hack_smarter virus detected in the network.
Hey, Tyler, what's up, guys? Virus in the network. Send the cookie monster. Stop, slow him down. Oh, God, what did I just do? I broke it. There we go. Cookie monster. There we go. What's going on, guys? Dude, Tyler, I finally got the browser working as the first specialty agent in here. It's working, it can navigate, it was browsing through GitHub for me, doing stuff. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. By the way, all raiders, you should hack smarter and harder. Just saying. Oh, geez, who else coming online? One sec, who we got? Let's see, Most and Screwface and Oxygen Eater. Thank y'all for coming online. Welcome in. Hope y'all had a fantastic stream over there with the one, the only, the fantabulous Tyler Ramsby. Welcome in. I hope everybody, all you raiders, are having a fantastic Sunday. Hack smarter and not harder and harder. Yes. Hack harder. Kind of like try harder. Yes, so I'm so excited. The browser is finally working. There's a couple, now we have to actually go integrate it over into the exploitation agent, but I'm so happy. I did not realize how long it had been taking me to fix that sucker. It's been June 8th since I last ran, because I've got a file in here that timestamps it, when we last ran the exploitation agent. So that's the last time we were kind of working on it, and then it's been browser ever since then. So I took like a week off of working on it to like just mess around, doodle by Hack the Box. So I think it was about 5 weeks. We were sitting there trying all sorts of different stuff to figure out what was the right combination of things and just how to get it to work. Finally now, it is successful. It's working. All I need is a Linux kernel. That's right. Oh, that was just for the cooldown? I got you, man. I think the chat, I think I've got the chat rules pretty well, like, lax for us here. I don't think it's that crazy. All right, let me check something here. So what I need this browser agent to do now. So guys, essentially what we were doing is we now have a Playwright MCP container that comes up and loads up and provides a MCP connection. And then we have our browser agent connect over to that. It provides the tools. It was browsing GitHub earlier, doing some fun stuff. And now we're actually trying to make it programmatic to where this agent becomes what's called a specialty agent. So if for some reason If for some reason a certain agent needs to access stuff in a web browser, it will have this guy to call, and it can do it. So that's what we're kind of working on right now. In fact, I need to go... So what we're going to do is we're setting up the agent to where it can call its own Docker container and spin it up. So I need to make a couple of options in here. Where's the actual container? This one. So we need to get this container. This is the one that it's going to launch. So our container image. Drop this one right here. Container name, we've already generated that. We do want to detach it. And then I believe there's some additional arguments we need for this. We don't really need the standard out or standard error from this. I think we do want to use auto remove, so let's go ahead and put that in here. There we go. Auto remove will be true. That way we're not cluttering up our system every time we execute it. And then I think we want to give it a name. Oh, wait, no, we already gave it a name. Actually, let me change this. This is going to be, browser works, actually. Browser with a name. Number. We were working on a browser. The browser's actually functional now. So we have a complete web browser that's basically powered by Playwright that our system can go through and use to browse to whatever. We had to make sure it was running locally, so that way it can traverse the VPN to go play the CTFs. That's what this whole project is we're building an AI hacking bot to go play stuff like Try Hack Me and Hack the Box, and basically just having some fun with it. But the browser issue, we ran into all sorts of issues with it. Finally, kind of backed up a bit, started looking at it again, got it functional now. It's working, but now we're trying to make it to where it's actually functional. We can make it to where it integrates into the rest of the agent system. So what I'm doing is, this was the Docker command we were running. I'm setting it to where it can run its own Docker container. Here. Let's see. I think what I want to do is, what other options do I need? I need to publish some ports for it. So, do we have like a port option or a publish? Publish? Publish all ports? No, don't want to do that. Hey, Austin, what's up, dude? Ports, here we go. What are we expecting for the ports? Let's see. Guess who's home? I'm guessing you're home, brother. Let's see, where's our ports list? So ports is taking a dictionary or a list of integers. How this is actually expecting this to work. So we can either send it a dictionary or we can send it a list of integers or a tuple of a string and an integer. Probably we'll just send it because I think we're exposing this. Oh no, actually 8931 is the default port it wants to run on. So we probably will need to send it a tuple. We'll have to send it as a tuple in here. There we go. So I'm guessing it's probably going to follow the same format that we've got up there where it is the port. Crap, is it inside the container and then it's the outside? I forget. But it looks like we can just do a string to an integer in here. Or we could just do a dictionary. Either one. Let's try that. Let's do 8931. And then we'll do that to 8931. I think that will work. You actually have to use tuple in here? For some reason, it's not like it. Fine, we'll just use a dictionary then. Let's see. So the string here be 8931, and then we'll bind that over to 8931. I think it's like that. Let me go find the actual documentation for this. Let's see. Python Docker. Here we go. So where is our run command? Here we are. Here's our parameters. And where's our port? Let's see. Port to binds inside the container. So the keys of the dictionary are the ports to bind inside the container, and then either as an integer or a string in the form of port protocol. The value of the dictionaries are the corresponding ports open on the host. Okay. So what we'll want to do is we'll go generate us like a, I don't know, random number. I don't want to do that. Tiptoeing through the tuples. Hey, Ken, what's up, dude? Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to basically assign it a random port. According to this, the key is the internal port number, and the value is going to be the host assignment. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to put those all on like 10,000 something. So we'll go pick like a random container, and then what we'll do is we'll have to populate that here as well, but that's not a problem. Let's do actually, what methods do we have here? That might be the better way to do this. What methods do we have? Here's our parameters. We've got a big long list of those. We could also do a list. We could prune container objects. That's our exports. That's not what I want. That's our supports. Also not what I want. No, that's fine. It's better to go ahead and get that programmatically. So for the container port, what we'll do is we'll do, I think it's random int. Yeah, rand int. That's what we want. So we'll do a rand int here. And I think we tell it return a random integer in the range of A to B. Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to return a random integer from 10,000 to 10,999. There we go. So this is going to get us some random port. So what we'll do is we'll then go ahead and make this integer. Let's type this as a string real fast. That's going to be a string. And then this fellow right here is going to be our container port, just like that. All right, so we got the port done. Now we need to do the volume shares. We got to figure out how we're going to set that up. Had a left radial wrist surgery. Ouch, man. Hope that went well for you, dude. Actually, I got to go have a follow-up with my back doctor. In January, I blew out 2 discs in my back. One of them, I completely just BTFO'd that thing. The one just above it, herniated it pretty well. But actually, it kind of looked from the MRI like it had been there for a while. And I've just healed and adapted to it. So I've been able to avoid surgery. But I got to follow up with my back doctor to go take a look at it. All right, so now we got to see how do we publish our volumes on here. There's our mount list. Something we could actually do is... What we should probably do is actually create like a Docker volume in here. Yeah, I think that would be the best thing to do. Probably take this over to something like Stinger. And when Stinger boots up, have it check to see if we have a Docker volume named like HackBot, and if not, they create the volume, and then we can populate that as part of it in here. Let me check something real quick. That would actually make passing information to all the containers very simple. Have to think of it. Are we using add message in state graph? I don't think we are we? Oh, in Stinger we are. We need to take that out. We don't need. This could be a big commit. Let's see if I want to do that. Because what we're looking at now is eventually what we're going to need to do is drop a web exploit into what is it? Into the Docker volume, and then the browser agent is going to need to pick that up and then be able to look and say, oh, okay, yeah, I have the PHP exploit code. We're going to go drop the web shell and be able to do that. Oh, let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and look at that real quick. So for Docker volumes, we can go ahead and create a volume using this. Label to set on the volume right here. I'll do this. Let me take a look at something real quick. So over here in, collapse this down. We actually have this storage folder here. That would work. Let me look at our studio config real quick. So for Stinger, it's actually executing from stinger.py. So that's coming in from our agents folder right here. Boop. And that is also where our pickle is being stored. So they're looking at this as their root directory here. So I think what I would need to do is adjust that root directory in like the envs. So hang on one sec, y'all, while I gotta drop into OPSEC mode real fast so I can adjust the env file here. Actually, Past Me already did this. This is great. Thank you, Past Me. I forgot, we actually already have that. Let me see if it's in the example folder real quick. Yep, it is already in there. Cool. So here what we have is we already had a container root path. And that actually maps over to our storage folder right here. Awesome. I think what I need to do though is create a new git ignore in here. Let me do that real quick. Dot git ignore. Yep, and then this git ignore I think should be how to structure this. I think we just do star.star in here. There we go. So now anything we drop over into storage won't be populated up to the folder itself will, but anything dropped into the storage won't be populated up to the Git repo. Okay. So we already have our container root path. Let's go set this up real quick. Hats, what's up, dude? Let's see. Are there any data protection laws in the US like GDPR, like we have here in the EU? I'm thinking about the T non-hack, where they kept all the user data unencrypted in a public directory. Is that legal in the US? There are some, but not nearly as stringent as GDPR. Not nearly as close. And I actually don't remember the name of them offhand. Let's see if there's one. What is the US equivalent of GDPR? I don't think we even have one. I mean, there are some, but GDPR kind of set the standard for everything. Because honestly, I'm not even in that area. Oh, geez. Sorry for the flashbang there. There are some, but they're usually around typically medical or financial ones, which actually Naaman Brockwell just had a video a couple weeks ago about that, where a lot of the stuff is not all that great. California does have some in there for consumer protection, but really data is not thought of as... I'm trying to think of how to do it. Basically, data is viewed as a commodity in the United States and not as a right, and privacy is kind of like the same way. So, yeah, it sucks. It's really annoying. GDPR is much more powerful and has more teeth. We're more fragmented due to states' rights. Yeah, pretty much. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things like there's options whenever you're signing up to different websites if you're a U.S. citizen, and if you put your address as being in California, different options come up because California does have their Consumer Data Protection Act, but a lot of the other states really don't. So, yeah, there's not a ton of encouragement to keep your information secure like that. But from what I was actually seeing, Hats, from some of the other murmurings on Twitter, is that T has other big issues. It's just that was their biggest one, was using an open bucket on, what was that, Firebase, I think? But apparently their app is just coded like garbage and has a lot of other issues to it. Yeah. That reminds me of the Ashley Madison hack, but, you know, not exactly. Name of the volume. If not specified, the engine generates a name. So how do I check and see if the volume actually exists? If the volume doesn't exist, okay. So what I can do is we could try to actually get the volume. Yeah, so this is from client volumes. So what we'll do is we'll make a volume called HackBot, and then we'll be able to store all of our stuff inside of there. I think that will be the simplest solution. Yeah. So let's do that over here real quick. What are we using pickle in here? Is this even being used? Let's see here. Oh, that's right. It builds the pickle every time it does a handoff. I was trying to remember what it was doing here. All right, got it. That's why I don't even consider it a hack. It's I'm purely interested in that from the data protection law side of the rest. The rest is a stale nothing burger. Yeah, pretty much. It was, for anybody who didn't know, basically what happened was there's an app called T, and it allowed you to basically report when you had bad dates on stuff. It was a really weird stalker-ish app, and essentially they did not protect their data at all. They just had it wide open out to the internet. Someone slurped up all that data and made it publicly available. And one of the things they did is I think they required like proof of who you are to sign up for the app. And so they had pictures of driver's licenses and pictures of people all up in there. It's a big mess. Basically, the entire database just went slurped right out. When will the project be out? It's actually up on GitHub right now. If you want to go check it out, it's on the... where is it? I got so many tabs open. Hang on, let me see if I can find it real quick. Too many tabs. Hang on. So if you go over to the BlaiseBits GitHub, it's HackBot right here. And it's very, very rough. It's super in development right now. But if you want to go explore the code and kind of take a look at it, that's where it's at. Here, I'll drop a link over to it. Oh yeah, it was a total PII dump, hats. Just complete matching everything to everyone. I'm curious what security issues it's flagging, because it's not like I really care about this. Oh, these are security issues with the repo. I don't care. There's not really anything I'm worried about with this repo. But essentially what's going to happen here is once we finish the exploitation agent, there's one more that's going to be the post-exploitation agent. That one's going to take a while because it's going to be pretty chunky. It's got to be able to manage and connect into an entire C2 framework. And to do that, I'm actually going to bring Cody, who's the writer of Mythic C2, back over onto the channel. So if you guys have any questions, a lot of folks are also professional penetration testers and red teamers, or they're just trying to get into cybersecurity. If you've got any questions about Mythic, I'll let y'all know a couple weeks in advance when that's happening, that he's going to be on. And we'll ask questions about, hey, how we're going to integrate this to HackBot. And he's going to be answering just general questions about Mythic, too. Super awesome guy. Really phenomenally smart and just really nice. I see Milk Tea. What's up, man? Yeah, so what we are building is... Let me show you. Let's come back over here. So this is basically an AI agent designed to play capture the flags, so hacking challenges. And what it will do is Stinger here is going to be our supervisor, and then we've got agents for doing recon, enumeration, exploitation, which is the one we're working on right now. And then eventually there's going to be a fourth agent right here called post-exploitation. Because a lot of times the goals of those CTFs are figure out where the exploit exists, and then do what's called a privilege escalation attack, where you escalate your privileges from like that of a user to that of like a super user, either root or system on a Windows machine. And so post-exploitation is going to handle a lot of that activity up here, connecting us to a command and control framework, getting us doing our post-exploitation activity like doing the privilege escalation. So we'll build another specialty agent for that, for privilege escalation over here. Maybe we'll probably build two, one for Linux, one for Windows. But once the privilege escalation one is functional and can solve root me with just being given like maybe a one sentence summarization of the problem and the IP address. Let me see if it has like a knowledge base. Let me see if it has any kind of descriptor to it. I don't think it does even. But essentially, this should be at the point where it says, hey, we've given you the target, go and compromise it. When it can get to that point, I'm going to call that like the first milestone. So that's going to be like the first minimal viable product right there, right? The MVP. And at that point, we're actually going to take a step back and we're going to refactor a lot of the shortcuts that were put into the code. It should, in theory, actually support anything where you can connect to it with a VPN. So if you want to spin up your own home lab and have it attack that, you could absolutely do that too. Because it's just connecting over a VPN. Anything where it has network connectivity to the target, it should work. Yep. So it's an AI chat that you talk to for the attacking the IP address. Actually, it's pretty much human out of the loop for the most part. I have not built anything about a front end to it. I actually may work on that towards as something to integrate into the milestone where you can actually see the information as it flows down through there. But really, the only time it should ever actually interact with the human is when it says, hey, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Where should I go from here? And then it would ask for advice. That's the only time. Other than that, it should be almost fully autonomous. In theory. We're gonna work on it. I fully expect it to get stuck. Like I said, this is the simplest possible CTF I could find, was this one. You do a minor PHP web shell, you drop it on there. There's a SUID binary that you can run Python with, and you can get it on there. It's about as simple as I could get. So, lots of fun. Actually, we did do, during the whole browser arc, trying to get the dang browser working, we did go do a Hack the Box, which was a fairly simple box, but it's called 2 million, and it was a retired system on Hack the Box. And that one actually had some really tricky stuff to it. So that might be the next target, is we're going to try and see if we can get HackBot to play 2 million next. No, did the ad pop up? I'm sorry, user. I usually am watching it and trying to keep an eye on like when the ads are going to pop up. But like I was saying, it will support any system that you have connectivity to. So if you've got a game of Active Directory network set up and you want to try it against that, it's not currently really well tuned against Windows systems. One of the things we might also do once it hits the primary or like the MVP level, the minimally viable product, is actually maybe talk to the guys over at Dreadnought and see about incorporating strikes into it. And Dreadnought strikes is a way to say like, hey, this agent is performing this task really well. Maybe there's something the agent's doing, maybe the model is working differently. And it's a way to actually differentiate which agent model prompt combination is actually working well. People like that. Dude, I'm so excited that the dang browser's working and I can actually get back to the real code here. All right, let me grab some. Let me close this. All right, let me look at something here. So over here in browser agent, where were we importing our Docker stuff? Let's see. We just literally just import Docker. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import Docker right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do docker.volume. I thought it was Docker volume, or is it Docker client volume? Hold on, let me check the documentation again. I think it's Docker client volume in here. Docker.client. Oh, we got to get the Docker socket. Boop. There we go. I forgot about that. Because then we actually interact with the Docker socket. That's right. No wonder why I'm losing my mind. Okay. So we'll do Docker socket dot. Is it volume? Yeah. Or it's actually it's get volume, I think. Yeah. What am I doing here? Hold on. Oh, it is dot volumes. Okay. So dot volumes and then get, and then we give it the volume ID. So we'll call the volume ID as HackBot right here. And then what we're going to do is actually we're going to do a try on this. So we'll say try get this. Will be open source. Oh, dude, it's open source right now. Sec. Yeah, there's the link to it. So if it's not human in the loop, who is HackerBot hacking? We come through and we basically give it an initial starting point. And there will be a little bit of a terminal interface for it down here. This right here is just this is the server that's running a lot of telemetry stuff right now. But we will have an interface to it, like, for example, this interface right here. I can actually give it an initial starting seed value. We'll have one in here where we tell it, hey, here's your either list of tasks or like here's your IP address for your target or your DNS name for the target, and it can go through and attack those things. So long as the DNS is actually functioning properly. I think one of the things we'll actually need to do is go set up a DNS system on here. Not a bad thing to do, but we could do it. That way, because a lot of times you do need DNS actually functional and knowing where to point to. Especially if you're doing like Windows exploits against Active Directory, you're going to need DNS for fully qualified domain names in there. Or you at least need some way to trick it into looking like you're using DNS. Then I think it's, what is it? I think it's accept. I gotta remember how to do a try accept in Python. By the way, I fully admit that I suck at Python. What I need to catch is, I need to catch a particular exception error, which is, here we go. Docker error API not found or Docker error not found. There we go. Let's run that. So what we'll do is, no, not like that. I think it's just not found. And we need to import. Actually, I take that back. This should be a catch in here, shouldn't it? A dummy. No, it is accept. Yeah. Except for that, and then we'll have a final exception in there as well. But from Docker, we need to import. Yeah, it should be Docker errors not found. I don't usually do a ton of coding, so that's why I picked something. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been a penetration tester for 7 years, and I've been working in IT for 15 years. And messing around with computers, back where my first programming language was literally basic, like go to 10 line style basic. But I've never really written a lot of stuff from the ground up. So this was also an exercise to improve my development skills. So it's covering a lot of bases for me, making sure I understand the development process kind of from beginning to end. Understanding how these agentic systems work, because my clients are going to start implementing it. Now I'm going to come across it during penetration tests. I want to know how to understand it and attack it. And also, it's something fun to do. It's very closely related to what I do during my day job, but it's creative enough that it doesn't burn me out to work on this. So that's usually what I recommend for a lot of folks. If, hey, you're wanting to improve what you're doing during the day, but you're experiencing a lot of burnout, is find a creative way to do it, and that's just far enough removed from your day-to-day stuff so you don't feel like you're just working all day and then working all night and burning yourself out. So I do this kind of stuff every day. I just don't do it in this way. I don't do it with agentic systems. I'm the one actually slinging commands and analyzing the data. I have a ton of fun with it too. I got potentially another agent I'm going to release that integrates with Gray Hat Warfare. So if you guys hadn't seen this site, this is really cool. Because one thing you can do is you can come search like buckets for, let's say like, we'll go search for any buckets that have files with the keyword SpaceX in here. And you can see, like, hey, here's a whole bunch. Here's a SpaceX crew picture. And this is just stored on an open bucket out on the internet. Sometimes it's like really benign stuff like this. Sometimes it's PDFs and other things. The search is kind of limited when you're using the free account, but when you upgrade, and I do have a professional account, you can access a lot more stuff. So I've got an agentic system that works with this. It's really crappy right now because I just threw it together for an assessment I'm on right now. But it does work, and I was able to do it really fast just using LangGraph, having a good time with it. All right, I need to just, yep. We're going to import that too, up here. Hold on, I'm going to restructure this just a teensy weensy bit. Put all my Docker imports together. All right, so if the export was not found, then what we're going to do is, from the Docker socket, we're going to do volumes create HackBot as the volume. There we go. And that should work. And then last exception we're going to do is, we'll do one more except, and what we'll do, we'll just say print Docker failure, try harder. There we go. So what this should do now is whenever Stinger runs, it's going to go check if the volume exists, and if not, then go ahead and create it. I know it's broad. It's because I want it to be broad. Actually, I want to do something different here. I'm going to accept E, and then actually, where is it to catch the because I'm trying to remember this. You can use the else keyword to define a block to code to get executed if no errors were raised. Finally, block, if specified, will be executed regardless if the try block raises an exception or not. What I want to do, though, is actually get the exception and print it. I'm trying to remember how to do that. That's the value error, but how do you do a generic? I'm trying to remember how to do a generic catch. Yeah, that should work. Try harder, backslash, and then E here. Make this a format strip. Yeah, fire away, Austin. I take the Q&A part seriously. I gotta remember how to do this though. Python catch all exceptions. I gotta remember how to do this. Oh, you just do exception as E. That's right. That's what I wanted. There we go. So now it should give us the actual error that comes back. Got it. Hey, Scrolls, what's up, man? Welcome in. Oh, thank you, Icy. I just saw your message about it, too. It's like, I know this is close,
I make no qualms about being a good programmer. Hacking on code, modifying it, fixing it, breaking it, turning it into different things, no problem. Writing from scratch, honestly, it's a very weak point, so we're fixing that weakness. No, Austin, you're totally fine, man. Let's see here. All right, cool. So now it's going to create the Docker volume. I'm actually going to go ahead and create that Docker volume, though. I think it's... I want to say the command is Docker volume create. Yeah. Create, and then we just give it the name. Yeah, so we'll call it Hack the Bot. I'm going to go ahead and create the volume here, because now what we're going to do is we're going to do modifications to where everything has access to this. It actually solves a big problem, some stuff I needed for, like, for example, RoboPages. RoboPages is a server that's running all of our tooling in Docker containers in the background. This is a really cool tool. It kind of came up before MCP was a thing, literally just before. But it's neat. It provides an HTTP interface where we can provide a bunch of YAML files to it. It generates Docker containers to run tools like Nmap, GoBuster, Fuff, you name it. Anything we can define in the YAML file, it will run. It works really well. I like it. I like the format of it because eventually what we'll do is we'll have this Docker container run as a part of the boot up process. And then later, because it's going to be managed by HackBot, there's going to be a specialty agent for creating new tools. So all it's going to do is it's going to go through and generate the YAML file we need, drop the YAML file in there, and then bam, we've got it set. Some servers don't like it, and there's a video that lasts 2 minutes about the job as well. Dude, I mean, I looked at the website. I didn't see anything objectionable about it. I thought it was pretty cool. You have to keep in mind, a lot of the people that I know from the circles that I run in are convicted felons, right? These are people that did time for hacking. And so I understand the need for having jobs that provide those additional enhancements to the work environment for folks that are having trouble, whether they've got some kind of a disability or inhibitants to how they can move, how they can operate, or they are, unfortunately, they've had a really rough go at life and they're trying to turn it around. It's really hard for some of those guys to find jobs. It's a little bit of a weird situation that for some reason, after you're a convicted felon for hacking, it's actually a tiny bit easier in some respects to find a job for it. It's a weird situation for that. Like for example, a drug dealer gets busted. They're not going to come in and all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, well, hey, you know what you're talking about. Let's hire you for a pharmacy. No way that's going to happen. You get busted for, like, let's say popping a bank or something. And then you get out there like, oh, really? Cool. Well, let's gear you up on modern tech. You've been out of the game for 5, 6, 7, 10 years. And then we're going to give you a job doing this and we're going to pay you a decent salary. So it's a weird situation like that, right? But no, I understand there's a really great need and a place for those kind of work environments. I think they're fantastic. See if that button actually works. In theory, it does. I don't think it actually does. What time is it? Unfortunately, we're just about out of time for the stream tonight. But the good news is we can actually get back to HackBot and get out of browser purgatory where we have been. I'm so excited about this. But I think this is a couple of enhancements we're going to need for stuff like this, for this specialty agent having the Docker volume where it can share files back and forth. Because eventually, browser agent is going to need to get that PHP file and in the browser, upload it to the system, right? We're in purgatory. That's right, hats. Purgatory. Now I'm thinking about Anchorman. I'm Ron Burgundy. Damn it. Who put a question mark on the teleprompter? What about when you have to do DNS rebinds techniques or IP spoof or an injection attack? When you reforce the request and the user agent or the WebSocket, do you think the bot will have a hard time with these scenarios? Oh yeah, definitely. Because usually if I'm doing stuff like that, it's going to be usually something like Burp Suite. And as far as I know, there's no Burp Suite MCP. Purgatory is where you go when you work on Electron. Yeah, exactly right, Hats. Oh, man. All right. Let me see if I can wrap at least some of this part up right here. So we got the ports published. That's good. The volume, we do want to set that up. So let's do... What do we need for our volume in here? Volumes is probably going to be another dictionary. Let me look at the container options real quick. Wait, hold on. What is this one? This is volumes also. Go back. All right, here we go. Dictionary to configure the volumes mounted inside the container. The key is either the host path or a volume name. So our key is going to be HackBot. And we're going to have to refactor that because eventually I'm going to change the project name. Right now it's HackBot. Once it kind of hits like the first alpha release, I'm going to rename it to Stinger AI. And that's an homage to Night Team 4. If you haven't ever played that game, it's really good. It's Night, N-I-T-E, number 4. It's not like some of the other hacking games. It's really more like puzzle solving with a hacker veneer to it. But it's a fun game. I like it. They have good stories to it. Let's see. The value is the dictionary of the keys, either the bind, the path to mount the volume inside. Oh, actually, it's the bind and the mode. So we probably just want to do, like, for example, here. So this is the path in this case, and we say we're going to bind it to mount vol 1, mode, read only. Okay, simple enough. Oh yeah, I've got a plan for it. A lot of the stuff that we've been building with it, like how the state table gets managed and whatnot, has been with a bit of an eye to the future. Like, eventually, I want to be able to turn this loose on Game of Active Directory. And actually, the guys over at Dreadnought gave me a really good idea. What's going to happen is a lot of times those language models get trained on data they slurp up from the internet, right? So how do you know that the information about how to solve Game of Active Directory isn't already baked into the language model? Well, chances are it probably is. So what you do is you go in the lab and you do things like you change the names, right? So rather than it being Game of Thrones themed, maybe we change it to where it's Star Wars themed. And then we just change like the usernames, we change the host names, maybe some of the passwords in there, which we could do in the config files. That's not a huge deal. It's going to be a little bit time consuming. But once we get those all set up, we spin it up. The attack paths are all the same, only the names have been changed to protect the innocent. Another question, where can we find you on social media? So obviously here on Twitch and YouTube and Kick, it's on all three. Although nobody really watches on Kick. I just have it up there for fun. Hopefully, maybe spark interest in the science and tech category over there. But also, I'll post up on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. I've recently started tinkering with TikTok too. Honestly, I'm in like boomer mode with that. I don't understand it very well. I'm going to try and start getting some more shorts and like kind of like day-to-day life stuff up there. I would really like to start putting out videos. I just don't have the time to dedicate to that. Basically, streaming and professional development for work takes up most of my time, not to mention the kids. They take up quite a bit of time. Hold on, why do I have an error right here? The error. Oh, it's because I haven't fixed this. Got it. What do I want to mount this? I think I'm going to mount this to Flash. Actually, hold on. I need two subkeys in here, don't I? I need the bind and the mode. So let's go fix this real quick. So this is going to have a sub dictionary to it right here. And then we'll have our bind and
do like this, and then we're also going to have our mode like this. Take that out. Wait, that was... Wait a second, I need that. Why are you doing this? Why are you hating me? Yeah, this should be correct. Why do you hate me? Let's do the bind in here. So the bind, we're going to send this to, let's see, /data/browser. And then eventually what we're going to do is we're going to fix all these bind bounds in here. And then our mode, this was going to be read-write access to it. Are you talking about the page on Twitch? Yeah, I know. I need to go dress it up. It's been on the to-do list for a long time. There's also, I hang out in the Discord quite a bit, so if you do !Discord in chat, it'll show it in there. I'm quite sure some people in tech will not use Kick and Odyssey and BitChute. I tried. I was literally spooked off the political extremist conspiracy videos in the first page, and I love conspiracy theories. I just don't want to go there and see all that stuff. I agree. Actually, I tried out Odyssey for a long time. Kick is kind of a weird platform, but you know what? It provides a little bit of redundancy, and I just threw it up there. Eventually, actually, I'll start streaming up on what is it? On X as well. So we'll throw that into the mix, and then what else was I thinking about doing in there? And then, like I said, just throwing weird stuff up on TikTok. I'm just messing with it. I'm trying to understand the platform. I don't really get it. I find it hard to imagine having a full-time job in something like developing, because you work most likely work when you have an idea and only work in not every day. Kind of. I mean, sometimes when you're working as a developer, though, and I've never worked as a developer, so take this with a grain of salt. A lot of times what you're doing is you're being assigned tasks like, hey, by the way, we need to either fix a bug in this code. And so you're given a task you need to go work on, right? You're probably not just writing code from scratch. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're fixing code. You might be implementing new features, things like that. So it's not like you're working in a complete vacuum where you need inspiration to go work on something. A lot of times you're working on already established code bases. Or if you're building something from scratch, then you have a lot of direction in which way you want to take it. And that freedom provides you a lot of opportunity to get creative and enjoy it. What about OnlyFans? Actually, I think Tiberius was joking about making a website called OnlyFeet. Actually, there is one for OnlyFeet, but like it was something like Only Hackers. It was gonna crack me up. All right, why is this unexpected type? This is literally the type you told me you wanted, though. Let's see, or you can do a list of string which has these mounts in here. So once a dictionary or a list, which is what I did, I put a dictionary in there, and now it's all complaining on me. I do need to wrap up the stream though. Let's go see if anybody happens to be over on InfoSec streams. Man, InfoSec streams are so dead, even I'm not on there. I love this site, but occasionally it misses a webhook and doesn't actually show who's online. But one more plug for this. All right, Austin, sounds good, man. Nice. All right, let's go see. By the way, if anybody has a raid suggestion, shout them out. Let's go see who we can go hit up. And I hate to call it early there, but actually I've got a doctor's appointment very early in the morning. I got to go hit up. What is Rob doing? He's doing like an IRL stream? Yeah, he's doing like some kind of walking around IRL stream.
Do only lands. I love that idea. Oh, too funny. Let's see. What do we got on we might want to go read over to? Adam's on working on his video game. Dead Sum is on playing a game called Peak. Think about that. It looks funny, but I don't know what that is. Let's see. J Blow's playing Hyper Gaming. Who else is on doing fun stuff? Nobody doing anything super interesting. Furball Farm? I've never seen them before. Let's go take a look at them. Let's see. Dude, this looks like my friend's house. I swear he's got like 500 cats. Wait, Hats, have you started streaming? Or have you been streaming this whole time and I just didn't know about it? Hey, Icy Milk, thank you for coming online. Appreciate it. I will try to think of things for the fun stream to do, the fun punishment stream most likely. If you get ideas, either send them to me over on Twitch or on Twitter or on Discord. Throw them up in there. I gotta figure out what to do for that, and then I gotta make sure I got time set aside for it. Super rare that I do the streams, but they're R&D and 3D CAD. Oh, nice. 90% of what I do is under NDA. That's understandable, man. You do really cool work, though. What's this guy working on here? A funny little game. I'll tell you, this guy's working on a neat game. We'll go right over to him. All right, so I'll check it out, man. All right, guys. Unfortunately, that is where I do need to wrap it up for tonight. Thanks everybody for stopping in. We're finally out of purgatory, the browser purgatory, and can finally get back to HackBot. That was the longest side quest ever. Very annoying, but we can actually start making improvements to the code again. Hopefully this will help finish off the exploitation agent. Oh, can't wait. Then we can start the epic arc, which is the post-exploitation. Can't wait. And username, thank you for coming online, man. You know, I appreciate all y'all. Tomorrow is Monday, or perhaps depending on where you are in the world, it is already Monday. So I hope everybody has a fantastic week. Get out there and crush it. Carry the boats for the blue team. Carry the logs. Wait, hold on. No, I got that backwards. Who's going to carry the boats? Red team. Who's going to carry the logs? Blue team. That's what I got for you. And so, everyone... Oh, wait, I forgot. The most important thing, which is, I love you. Peace. Oh, wait, I forgot. Yes, actually, shit, I did forget something. I forgot. Tuesday night, we'll do the news. So I'll catch you all on Tuesday. Take care, everyone. I love you. Peace.